lies. Guys, I don't normally do this. I don't normally sound off on the Grammys. I don't watch them. I didn't watch them. I haven't watched them for years. I used to love watching them with or watching the Grammys, the Academy Awards, all of these award shows, if you will. When I was younger with my family, I mean, it was the bomb.com. You didn't have to worry about all these commies coming out and acting like they hated you just because you had a different political worldview. But nowadays you have to, and they virtue signal. A lot of these people have grown up in a world, some of the people that we're going to talk about, where they haven't had to struggle as much, and then they've accumulated all of this wealth at a very young age, and they just like to talk smack. They like to feel good because they really don't have a God. They really don't serve God. So they've become gods in and of themselves. And so I want to talk about some of these people that have been virtue signaling and they've gotten smacked down as a result of this. So we got so much to cover. We're going to be covering the Grammys a little later on. I'm going to be covering the war for open borders, or to keep the left's war, I should say, for open borders. We know that there was a Texas state Senate seat that was lost. I got to tell you guys, I'm not as concerned about that. Perhaps I should be. Perhaps I should be. But I'm not as concerned about that as some people are, at least right now. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not convinced that it is what most people say that it is. Now, I could be wrong. But let's start with the Grammys. I want to start, and I just want to react to some of the videos and some of the to some of the responses at the Grammys. I want to respond to some of these people that are nothing but a bunch of stooges. They have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. Obviously, it was so predictable. Everybody knew. This is why I don't watch them, because everybody knows what's going to happen. You're going to have a bunch of lefties come on stage. They may or may not, thank God, and then they're going to bash Donald Trump, or they're going to bash Republicans. They're going to bash ICE. And everybody knows, with Renee Good having been shot, Alex Preddy having been shot, both of them that were activists in ICE watch groups, that were agitators, that were literally provoking and inciting cops. They put themselves in precarious situations, and they made some very dumb decisions. I wish neither one of them would have been shot. But the truth of the matter is, I'm sick and tired of all of these Hollywood elites, and we'll get into them. The Bad Bunnies of the world, the Billie Eilishes, the Billie Eilishes of the world, the Trevor Noahs. We got some video for you. The Don Lemons of the world. All of these people that are bashing ICE, but it's so fascinating to me that they never remember the Laken Rileys. They never remember the Jocelyn Nungareys. They never remember the people that have been slaughtered by illegal immigrants, the Biden illegal immigrants that have been brought into this country in order. What did I tell you guys before? What is illegal immigration about? Illegal immigration, the reason why Biden brought in his homies from all around the world, all around the globe, if you will, is because Democrats, their policies stink. All they can do is make you mad. I've told you guys this time and time again. That's all they've got. But if Democrats can bring in a bunch of illegal immigrants, which they have, then they can control Congress. That's what they want to do, or at least they want more seats in Congress. They want more federal funding. They want more electoral college votes, and then they just want to change the culture in general. They don't want a bunch of people that believe in the American dream. This sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Democrats do not want voters voting for them that believe in the American dream. They want voters that believe that Democrats or big government is their God, is their answer, is their solution to everything. And either you get good government when Democrats are in, or you get a tyrant or a fascist or totalitarian when Donald Trump is in, which is absolutely insane. But this is where they are. Let's start off with who should we start with, Gabe? There was a bunch of dum-dums. Let's start with number 3. Let's start with Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah, what a crappy comedian. I'm not even saying this just because he's on the other side of the aisle. I really don't care. But I would watch this guy as well as Don Lemon, and I'm not going to lie to you, Gabe, I would literally get jealous. I'm like, how could this guy be on national television making tens of millions of dollars a year? And every time I tried to watch him several times, and I'm like, they must have signs. Like, I've gone into, like, I remember going to watch America's Funniest Home Videos when I was younger. in my teens, and they've got applause, they've got these lights above, applause on, etc. And I'm like, they had to have that for Trevor Noah because he wasn't funny. His writers weren't funny. And I would sit there every time just to gasp, like, how is this guy getting paid this much money and he just stinks? It was weird, but anyway. Having said all that, let's start with Trevor Noah. This is what Trevor Noah this is what he had to say about Nicki Minaj. So he blasted Nicki Minaj, and so we'll react to this. This is cut number 3, or this is video number 3. Trevor Noah just dissing Nicki Minaj, and I want you guys to notice the reaction with the people in the audience, all of the Hollywood elites in the audience, and I'm going to tell you why that's actually really creepy. But let's roll it. Video clip number 3, por favor, Gabe.
Legend Billie Eilish, Phineas. Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby. Jennifer Hudson is in the house.
Okay, so you hear people applause when he disses Nicki Minaj. Can you imagine if Nicki Minaj was a liberal, right? And if a white person said that, it would be excommunicated from Hollywood. But having said that, it wasn't funny. But I want you to pay attention to all of the seals that are in the audience. So Nicki Minaj probably has a different political worldview than probably most of the people in there. I doubt that it's all, but I guarantee you a bunch of them are cowards because they're not going to damage their brands and lose their money. So Nicki Minaj, yes, I know she's worth a lot of money, but guys, bottom line, people, it's all relative. People make money, they become rich and famous, they want to make more money, they want more properties, it's all relative, and it's all relative in my mind. But notice what he did. So he disses the lady that has the audacity to think critically, to think for herself. See, that's what Hollywood elites, they talk about totalitarians. They talk about fascists. And I don't believe they're fascists. I just believe they're numbskulls. I just believe that they're morons. The Trevor Noahs of the world. These people are just hilarious to me, but it's frustrating because they think they're smart. And those are some of the most dangerous people in my mind, a bunch of lemmings that think they're smart. So they clap because a woman has a different political worldview than they do. And it's based on issues. She stood up for Nigerians that were being slaughtered. There are Christian Nigerians that are being slaughtered. She was also for the Trump plan where young American kids that are I forget what they're called. I don't know why the name escapes me right now. But basically, where kids that are born are going to get $1,000 automatically invested, and whether you agree with that or not, I personally wish parents would do that. I don't necessarily think the government should be doing that, but nonetheless, that's a policy position that Nicki Minaj likes. Now, notice what the left does. This is all they can do. This is what they do all the time. So all they do is ad hominem attacks because they have nothing else. They can never talk about policy. So that's number one. Gabe, do we have time for another video before this segment runs out? All right, so let's play cut number 4. This is Billie Eilish. Listen, I got to tell you, I've listened to some of Billie Eilish's music. I actually like some of her music. I like her style, but she's a complete moron when it comes to politics. So we'll break it down. Cut number 4, por favor, Gabe.
And as grateful as I feel, I honestly don't feel like I need to say anything, but that no one is illegal on stolen land.
Okay, so they're all in an auditorium that's on stolen land. They should leave and hightail all out of here. All of them own property in the United States. I guess it's on stolen land. So they should give all of their property, I guess, to Native American Indians. These fake, these fraud, these virtue signaling phonies it's completely laughable These people are a complete and utter joke. I'd like to see Billie Eilish. Listen, I'd like to see you. I'd like to see you give up your property since it's on stolen land. Every bit of money that you made because you're an American and you were on American soil, you should give that up too. Oh, and by the way, America was not stolen. This is just idiocy. We had a Mexican American war. The president at that time, which the name escapes me, believed in manifest destiny. So there was a confrontation on the border, I believe, right on the Rio Grande. If I'm not mistaken, you had some American soldiers that were killed by the Mexican army. Now, no doubt, the president at the time kind of instigated that because he believed in manifest destiny. He did want more land, but you had the Mexican soldiers that killed American soldiers, and then it was like, okay, it's on like Donkey Kong. We're going to go to war. But you know what happened after that war? After America won that war, you had Mexicans that lived in Western areas, whether it was, I think it was like New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, California, those Western states, if you will. The vast majority of Mexicans, even though America was America, those lands were settled after the Mexican-American War. They decided to stay in the United States because they wanted to be Americans rather than go back to Mexico. Oh, and by the way, despite the fact that we won the war, America decided to pay Mexico for all of that land. So it wasn't stolen, you moron. It was bought. It was purchased. These people, I mean, just get a clue, please, por favor. But the problem is with people like Billie Eilish, the people like Trevor Noah, they've got mass followings, and then they just spit off this nonsense, which is just all it is nonsense, but their followers are probably just as moronic as them when it comes to politics, and so they don't know any better. And these people, listen, in their hearts, I know that they think they're doing the right thing, but I'm just sick of this. I'm sick and tired of these Hollywood elites. They talk about the ICE agents. They try to deify Renee Good. They try to deify Alex Preddy. They don't give a flip about Renee Good. They don't give a flip about Alex Preddy. They give a flip about the cause, and they want a virtue signal, and they want to pat themselves on the back, and they want to feel good about themselves. But the truth of the matter is, these aren't honest people. To sit there on stage, Billie Eilish making millions of dollars. This is stolen land. Billie Eilish, forfeit your property. Forfeit your property, give it to some Native American tribe, and leave. And then maybe I'll take you seriously. I doubt I'll take you seriously. But I'd want to take you seriously. But we've got more coming up after the break. You are listening to The Carl Jackson Show. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the program. All things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show. We will be back momentarily. No, what did you? I heard a countdown, but I thought I heard 10. And I went on way too long. Okay, sorry. Crap, that sucks. I was rolling. Sorry, guys. Well, I was rolling so good. I want to make sure it's all captured. All right, so we still have. Who else do I want to answer this? Also, Grammys on a new batch of Epstein files released. Okay, and we can play Steve Kerr. We can add number 8 to it. Okay. All right, we're on a roll. All right, let's go back, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you go to get your podcast, YouTube and Rumble. That would be great. Spotify as well. That would help us out tremendously. Also, all things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook, por favor. Please follow us at Carl Jackson Show. At The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find us. All right, Gabe, let's get this thing started, as they say in somewhere out there. Greenland. Yes. Let's get it started, like they say in Greenland. All right, guys, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. There's so much to get to, but first, I do want to tackle this Grammys thing. Again, I don't normally dive in probably to culture as much as I should, frankly, and but we've got to start pushing back because these people have so much influence in the culture, the Billie Eilishes of the world, the Trevor Noahs of the world, and they're just spewing out nonsense. And it's just frustrating. And I'm just so sick and tired. They deify, again, like I said earlier, they deify the Renee Goods of the world. They deify the Alex Preddies of the world that just made poor decisions and wound up dead. I'm sorry. You don't go and interfere in law enforcement operations and expect to live unless you've been brainwashed or unless you're, I don't know, two fries short of a Happy Meal. I'm sorry. All right. It just, I believe that both of those shootings were justifiable homicide. I know they have to be investigated. So listen, this will play out. Both of them will be investigated. It'll play out, I'm sure, in the investigation and all that kind of stuff. But I just think that these people put themselves with Renee Good. It was more clear, obviously, because she hit the ICE agent. With Alex Preddy, I understand that things, the officers had grabbed the gun, the ICE agents had grabbed his gun and stuff like that. But he still had, apparently, he still had his holster on him. There was a lot of commotion. All you people out there second guessing, there was so much commotion out there. Remember, you had those commies out there yelling and screaming and whistling and trying to interfere, where getting law enforcement confused. And so we don't know what happened. We don't know if somebody yelled gun. Some people say the gun went off. I don't know if that's true. I never heard a gun go off in the videos that I saw, but just all of the commotion, from honking horns to all the morons out there, the agitators, the insurrectionists blowing whistles. If anybody saw something or heard something, maybe they thought they heard gun, those officers are going to shoot. I give them the benefit of the doubt, because they should have never been abandoned by the local police department, or they should have been allowed, the ICE agent should have been allowed, as Tom Homan spoke about last week, to go inside of the jails or prisons and take out the people they wanted to take out. They wanted to prioritize criminal illegal aliens. I don't think that Kristi Noem handled all of that stuff well, but nobody's perfect. But what ICE wanted to do, they wanted to go inside of the jails and they wanted to arrest a criminal illegal element. And then you had the AG Keith Ellison and all these people releasing the criminal illegals, people that have committed rape and murder, not just in their home countries, but now here in the United States of America, that have committed horrible crimes. And these people get locked up again. And instead of allowing ICE, okay, hey, ICE, cooperating with ICE, this is what it will look like. Hey, ICE, yeah, this is the Minneapolis Police Department. We've got an illegal immigrant in custody. We see that in his home country, he's been charged with this. Now he's just committed this crime. Do you want to come pick him up? Okay, you're coming here at noon. Okay, great. You're going to send 2 ICE officers instead of 3,000. Okay, great. He'll be here. That's it. That's cooperation. All these lefties lying to you. Well, we have to disperse our forces. We don't want to have to overspread or our manpower. We don't believe our local police officers should be worried about ICE enforcement, federal law enforcement, so on, etc. Okay, we didn't ask you to do that. We just asked you, when the criminal illegals are already in jail, could you hold them until a brother could come pick them up, please? I mean, that's it. That's it. All right. Now, having said that, let's get to some more morons, and let's get to a saint, a guy who stole the show, in my opinion. So we've gone through the moron Trevor Noah. We've touched on Billie Eilish, who we've now established is a moron. Here's Gabe's favorite moron. This is Bad Bunny. This is cut number 13. Por favor, Gabe.
Before I say thanks to God, I'm gonna say eyes out.
Okay, before I say thanks to God, I'm going to say ice out. So before I thank God, I'm going to put God on the back burner, and I'm going to virtue signal for the people in the audience, and I'm going to say ice out, and I'm not going to be worried about all the people like the Jocelyn Nongares, like the Laken Rileys that have been raped, that have been murdered,
all of the people that can't afford housing because he's a multimillionaire 10 times over that can afford to live anywhere he wants to. But when you have a bunch of illegals coming into the country, you don't think they're having an impact on the housing market. You don't think they're using up a bunch of resources when it comes to our healthcare system, when it comes to our educational system. These people live in a fairy tale land. They can sit there and it's all insulated, right? All of these morons are insulated. It's moron after moron after moron. So all they're doing is they're preaching to the choir. Everybody pats each other on the back. Oh, but they're not going to go out there and protest. They're not going to go out there and do any of that nonsense. Why? Because they know better. Do you think Bad Bunny, do you think Billie Eilish, do you think Trevor Noah will go and put their, if they were being arrested or detained by a law enforcement officer, do you think they would speed off and hit a law enforcement officer? Do you think they would do that? Do you think they would be out in the street like Alex Preddy was, antagonizing and instigating and provoking and tagging or wrestling and pushing on ICE agents, kicking out do you think they would do that? These people are a joke. They are a joke. I'm so sick of them. Honestly, I part of the time, oftentimes I don't even talk about them because I just think they're a joke. But the problem is, I guess the joke is on me because they've got so many lemmings that follow them. And these lemmings, instead of just, okay, they're artists, that's what they are, you know, unless they can talk about specific policy positions. Like people laughed at Kim Kardashian. I didn't agree with her with bail reform and stuff like that, but at least she would talk about a policy position. I mean, this is insane. Who else do? Oh, Steve Kerr. Let's play Steve Kerr. Cut number 8 before we get to the good one. So here's Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. Guys, before we get to Steve Kerr, cut number 8. I grew up watching Steve Kerr. John Paxson played on the Chicago Bulls before him. He had the role that Steve Kerr ended up having with Michael Jordan. I mean, listen, guys, I was a Lakers fan. I mean, to the core. But everybody, when Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, man, when they had that team, Horace Grant, oh man, who was the guy that Ron Harper used to be on the Clippers, went to the Chicago Bulls, Dennis Rodman. I mean, they had a squad. And it was torture. I mean, it's like I loved watching the Bulls play. I hated seeing them just destroy my Lakers at the time. But honestly, they were the bomb. And then they had John Paxson that would sit in the corner and bust threes. And after John Paxson left, they had Steve Kerr. He would do the same thing. I mean, just spot up anywhere, just bust a three. Now everybody's shooting threes. The NBA is kind of boring. You know what I mean? It's just a bunch of wokeness in the NBA, and everybody's shooting. Everybody wants to be Steph Curry or whatever. But back in the day, it wasn't like everybody was Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Or trying to be like Steph Curry. They were trying to be like Mike. And then you had Steve Kerr that would bust those threes when they needed them to win. And I enjoyed him then. And even as a coach, I know he's a good guy, man. I know he's a good guy. As a coach, he's been a great coach for the Golden State Warriors. When it comes to politics, the guy is a complete and utter moron. Cut number 8, por favor, Gabe.
Alejandro from Outkick.com. So going back to the situation in Minneapolis and some of the comments that were made there. So I know you had mentioned that, you know, ICE isn't rooting out violent criminals, but is instead taking 5-year-olds. Since we know that ICE has indeed arrested violent criminals, and perhaps some of those statements could be seen as misinformed or possibly divisive, what would you say to that?
You're right. I definitely misspoke, and I knew that ICE was arresting some criminals, and I think I immediately regretted it because I knew that to be the case. But my point is that they're also arresting people and detaining citizens and people who should not be being detained.
Okay, so let me stop that video there. They aren't. We had John Lott on last week. So literally out of hundreds of thousands of people that they've arrested 170 citizens, and 130 of those citizens were agitators. The other 40 were in error. Let's play Jelly Roll. So Steve Kerr just admitted that he lied. He screwed up, but he's emotional because he's effeminate. So he screwed up. Number 6, Jelly Roll. This is the guy who stole the show, in my opinion. This was the guy that saved the Grammys. Cut number 6, por favor, Gabe.
I had was a Bible this big and a radio the same size in a 6-by-8-foot cell, and I believed that those two things could change my life. I believed that music had the power to change my life, and God had the power to change my life. And I want to tell y'all right now, Jesus is for everybody. Jesus is not owned by one political party. Jesus is not owned by no music label. Jesus is Jesus, and anybody can have a relationship with him. I love you, Lord.
You want me to watch the Grammys? I want to be inspired with people like that. Dang, for real? Crap. All right. Dang. Man, and I don't want to go into another. Okay, hopefully we can make it work. All right. Man, it's a stinker. I was on a roll. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. If you is, or if you are even. But let me talk to you real quickly about My Pillow, because it's still going on. Pretty amazing up until March 1st, anyway. So last year was a harder year for My Pillow, but because of loyal listeners like you, they're still standing strong. So to show their appreciation, they still have their Christmas special that they're offering, with savings that are exclusively for my listeners. Right now, you can get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for just $29.98. My slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98, and a variety of blankets, comforters, and duvets that are starting as low as 25 buckaroonies. Plus, there's a major blowout deal on the standard My Pillow now. It's only $14.98. All you have to do is visit mypillow.com or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use that promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communists, to unlock these wholesale prices. Again, that includes the standard My Pillow. Guys, I love My Pillow. I will not sleep with another pillow, and I'm not lying to you. Originally, it was $49.98. Again, just $14.98. The queen sizes are marked down at $18.99. The king size is only $1 more. So you already know My Pillow products come with a 10-year warranty. But again, Christmas, going back to Christmas, they announced then that they had a 60-day money-back guarantee. And that was extended. So orders that were placed right before Christmas, all right, will have their guarantee extended all the way through March 1st of this year. So hopefully you bought at Christmas time, but if you didn't, you can still buy now, and you have that guarantee extended through March 1st. So please take advantage of that special. All right, so mypillow.com, promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. Valentine's Day is coming up, so you can shop at mypillow.com. All right, we got so much more to get to. Let me just line up some of the video that I want to make sure that we play, because I do want to talk to you about what's happening with there's been some good news, actually. Oh, yeah. I'll talk about Epstein too. It's actually, I mean, what's the latest? I really don't think anybody's going to be satisfied with that, but I will get into that because I do want to give you some of the main players that I guess are being exposed right now. All right. Yeah, that is one of the things that I will talk about, but all right, you know what? Maybe I'll start with that one. I've got 2 more short podcasts that I want to do wrapped up in one for you guys that are listening out there. So I'm trying to. Gabe is talking and in my ear, or was just totally destroying my flow. So if you wonder why I'm off kilter, you can just please send your emails to Gabe totallyMessMeUp.com. Gabe totally messed me up.com. I'm just kidding. All right. What's this? That's actually pretty funny. Oh man, are you guys looking forward to the Super Bowl? I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl because I love the stories. Not looking forward to the halftime show. I had decided to watch the halftime show. I had decided to watch the halftime show. My nephew and I think, well, Gabe, did you say you were going to watch the halftime show or you weren't going to bother? Okay, so all right, so you're okay. So I'm the same. I got curious enough where I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to talk about this stuff. So let me watch the halftime show. But after that, after he came on, I was like, oh, so I'm tuning out the halftime show. That's what I was gonna do before. I had swayed, I had changed my mind, but I'm back to I'm not watching the halftime show. But I love the stories that are taking place in the NFL. I mean, including with the coach for the Patriots, very well. I'm not even a Patriots fan, but this guy being relieved from the released from the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, you got the story with Drake May. Obviously, the old story with Seattle, and anyway, Seattle and the Patriots. You guys remember that game where I wanted Seattle to beat the Patriots, and then Russell Wilson threw the ball instead of letting homeboy, I forget his name, just run the ball in. It just drove me absolutely nuts. But anyway, that's that. Okay, let me we'll deal with let's get to whoa. Actually, this one, Gabe, for those of you that might be tuning in online, sometimes you might see some stuff being played out right in this one will probably be a totally different title that I have not thought of yet. So just so you know, this would be the third one if I'm gonna deal with Epstein now. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it. Do it. Oh man, I forgot to mention this. Oh, this stinks. All right. All right, let's go. All right. All right, welcome back to the program. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Okay, so let's talk Epstein. Let's also talk about culture in general. All right, so we just talked about the Grammys, if you will, and just what a debacle that's turned out to be. I mean, those people can inspire so many people, and honestly, they've just become a bunch of lemmings. But I want to talk about this Epstein thing. I also want to talk about a major victory that has occurred that many people have not talked about, and then I want to talk about the war for open borders that the left is waging to keep open borders and why. We've spoken about why, but I'm going to give you a couple examples of things that are happening right now that you should know about. But let me talk about Epstein. All right, so obviously the left didn't care about Epstein. Nobody cared about Epstein, and I think the left didn't care about Epstein because they probably knew that Bill Clinton had a cozy relate. Actually, they knew. Right. They knew that Bill Clinton had a cozy relationship with him. They knew that their donors, like Bill Gates, allegedly, you know what I mean, had a cozy relationship with Epstein. They knew this stuff. So they didn't want anything to do with it. And for all of you people out there, oh man, you're just protecting Donald Trump. You're just one of those MAGA guys. Donald Trump is guilty. How come Donald Trump won't release? Now they've released so many files, 3 million. I don't even know how you go through 3 million pages, guys. And I got to say this, I'm going to sound a little callous. I am over the Epstein thing. Listen, I want the victims to have their day in court. If there's somebody that still needs to be prosecuted, I hope to God they're prosecuted. But as it stands right now, the victims are a little upset because they're like, whoa, everybody wanted transparency. And now here we are. People know our identity now. So now the DOJ has to go back and any names that they may have released because everybody wanted the stuff out. And this is what I warned about. Like I want transparency too. I wanted the stuff out. But people, a lot of people, if you haven't been through the legal system, you don't. I understand, but you don't necessarily get this. There is a legitimate argument to be made with 3 million 3 million pages or whatever. When with the Epstein files, there's going to be tons of people that had no idea what Epstein was up to, and there's going to be lots of people that did, and the people that did, or the people that did, I want them to be called out. But the people that didn't, a lot of lives might be ruined, relationships, families might be ruined. Oh, what are you doing with Epstein? When the guy was clearly, it's like Elon Musk. They were trying to trap Elon Musk, and Elon Musk put out the one email that he actually sent to that he actually sent, or that Epstein sent to him, basically like telling him the UN is a waste of time, going to testify there, or something to that, something to that accord. And hey, you can come to, I can't remember if he said to my island. I'm paraphrasing. And that was it. And then everybody wanted to get Trump. So there was a fake story that was implemented near the 2020 election where somebody that was nuts, literally, went in and claimed that President Trump was doing some crazy stuff with younger girls, underage girls, and stuff like that. The Biden administration didn't even find it credible. So they just said, adios, sayonara, see you later, sucker. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Guys, if they had anything on Trump, they would have used it a long time ago. But instead, what they do is Trump, Epstein, and then all the lemmings on the left. Yeah, Trump, Epstein. Yeah, Trump, Epstein. Meanwhile, they forget that Biden and Democrats control. Biden had the White House for 4 years. Democrats controlled Congress for a period of time, for at least the first 2 years of his administration. And they didn't release any of this stuff because it isn't about the victims. It's about the narrative. Now, one of the things that I think you need to know, and I read this in the Financial Times, but one of the things that you need to know, allegedly, I gotta say allegedly, just to be on the safe side there. Well, but let's talk about Gabe's homeboy, Bill Gates. All right, so allegedly, Bill Gates liked to sleep with some of the Russian girls. That didn't sound Russian, did it, Gabe? How would you sound Russian? How does Russian sound? I don't know. All right, so apparently, Bill Gates liked to sleep with some of the Russian girls. He liked to sleep with some married women that were provided, apparently, to him, allegedly, by Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Bill Gates, I got to say, in his defense, he's saying, no, this never happened. But there was a reason why Melinda Gates left him. She thought that Bill Gates was creepy from the first, and I think last time that she met him. She didn't want Bill hanging around with him, but yet he was doing it nonetheless. So Bill clocked some serious flight hours with the Lolita Express as well. And so basically what was happening when it came to Bill Gates is not only was he sleeping with people, but apparently he had gotten an STD or some STDs from some Russian women that were being provided for him, allegedly, by Jeffrey Epstein. And so he didn't want his wife to know. And so he asked Jeffrey Epstein for some oh, man. He asked Jeffrey Epstein for some antibiotics, and he wanted to be able to give some of this stuff. He wanted to, in whatever form he could, to give his wife some antibiotics too for the STD or STDs without her knowing. Allegedly. This is Bill Gates. Another person that was involved in, oh man, I don't remember this chick's name. I hope that I can find it. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was one of the last stories. I read it literally over the weekend, guys, so forgive me. I haven't read some of the stuff that might be out today, and unfortunately I don't have it with me. But apparently it was a woman, a female that was on Obama's staff, that was part of his staff, an attorney for the Obama administration, a female that had some relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not sure to what extent, but I mean, it sounded like he was bribing her. He was buttering up to her, buying her stuff like that. And so that's pretty fascinating. So that's one. And then you have this story. And I want to get to this detransitioning story because we're touching on the culture. We got some cultural wins as well. So we've got Epstein, we've got some detransitioning. I want to talk about Luigi Mangione. And just give you a short take on Luigi Mangione, because I think that is extremely important. And then I want to talk about the people of Iran, the people that are suffering. It looks like President Trump is going to save the day. I hope he does. It's pretty fascinating, to me. But let me see if I can get to this story on where is it? Do I have this? I'm not sure if I have it. Oh yeah, here it is. Chairman of LA Olympic Commission appears in newly released Epstein files. So it's like the Epstein files are getting everybody but Trump. Say what you will, say what you want about the man. Listen, I mean, sometimes he just overreaches. I'm going to get into. I don't know if you guys saw Melania. I saw that over the weekend with my wife. It was fantastic. So I'll get into that momentarily. But the chairman of the LA Olympic Commission appears in newly released Epstein files. So they wanted these things. See, they didn't want to help the victims. They wanted the Epstein files released. They wanted full transparency, right? Because they thought that it would destroy Donald Trump. They believed the nonsense. It destroyed, at least for a short period of time, Hakeem Jeffries. You see, he's not talking about it anymore. But now you have this, according to the New York Post. Racy emails between a Hollywood mogul tapped to head the 2028 Olympic Games in LA and Jeffrey Epstein's convicted sex trafficking madam were revealed in the latest document dump tied to the late pedophile Casey Wasserman. The 51-year-old CEO of Wasserman Media Group traded a flurry of risque messages with Ghislaine Maxwell in 2003, just 2 years into his marriage with then-wife Laura Zifrin, including one in which he asked to set up a sensual massage. Quote, "Where are you? I miss you," close quote. The chairman and president of the 2028 Olympics Organizing Committee wrote to Epstein's confidant on April 1st, 2023, quote, "I will be in New York City for 4 days starting April 22nd. Can we book that massage now?" Close quote. Wasserman has previously been accused of being a serial adulterer with a, quote, "chronic condition of sleeping with people who work for him," close quote. This, according to the Daily Mail. Also, the New York Post said that Wasserman love bombed, quote unquote, potential conquest, showered them with Louboutin shoes. I've never even heard of those. Louboutin. They're obviously expensive. La Perla lingerie, handbags, and even Range Rovers. But when his interest waned, he carelessly dropped them like a hot potato, sources claim. Quote, "When he dumped me, I was in shock and disbelief that he could go from 100 to 0 in just hours." Well, this is what happens. You move on to the next Epstein hookup, apparently. So anyway, the people that are being found out in the Epstein files, are people like Bill Gates, or people like Bill Clinton, and this is absolving Donald Trump. So the left aren't going to get their wish with this, and unfortunately, the victims aren't either. We'll be back with more. That's what they all say. Okay, let me let's see. All right, let's see that. Okay, I is ready, as they say in Bangladesh. Oh, Puerto Rico. Okay, yeah, in Puerto Rico. You're exactly right. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. We would certainly appreciate that. Also, all things social media, X, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you go to find me, at Carl Jackson Show or at The Carl Jackson Show. You'll find me either way. All right, so we talked about Epstein, and I'm sure there will be more news to drop. when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. Guys, 3 million pages. I mean, it's going to be nonstop. But I do believe that Todd Blanche was right. Perhaps we should have pulled clips of his press conference. There are going to be so many people dissatisfied with this. Right now, the left understands, all right, the left understands, or at least they understood that they've got to do anything to destroy Donald Trump. You know what? Let me do this. Let me just real quickly talk about this Texas state Senate race. And I got to admit, guys, I haven't looked into it thoroughly. Let me say that. Let me just be right out in the open with that. But here's what I believe is happening in some of these races. And I think Democrats are winning because I do think it's strategic. A lot of Republicans aren't showing up. It is frustrating that Republicans aren't showing up to these races, but this was a state Senate seat. And by no means am I making excuses. This is a state Senate seat in a red area that apparently has been going red Republican for decades. And Trump won it by, I believe it was 17 points. And now you had a Democrat that won that seat by 14 points. And I don't doubt that some of that has to do with if there's heavy Latino votes. Maybe some Latinos don't like the way the tactics that ICE have been using. I think that's going to wane, frankly, by the election, especially with Tom Homan coming in. I think he's going to handle this situation, at least publicly, better than Bovino and Kristi Noem have. And I think the elections are a long ways away. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to pop up now between then. However, I will say if the economy isn't starting to feel, and the economy is getting better, right? But if people don't sense it and really feel it, I'm talking about in the middle class level by the summer, then I think that's when Republicans really hurt. But go back to this Texas state Senate race. I think what the Republicans have, honestly, I think a lot of these races get lost in the weeds because you've got so much national news. There's so much, whether you like it or not, guys, and I know I'm going to get shaved for this. There's so much news that is geared towards Trump. Like, he's always in the news. The left is always trying to make him a part of the news. And I think that's part strategy. I think sometimes Trump shoots himself in the foot. I think, frankly, that happened with the Kennedy Center. I know his board, he didn't have anything to do with that per se. That was his board, but now they're talking about renovations. Well, why are they talking about renovations at the Kennedy Center? Because now all of the guests that were going to come in, all of the talent that were going to come in, they're like, no, they're virtue signaling, right? They're scared. They're scared that they're not going to get other gigs now that it's called the Donald J. Trump and John Kennedy or Kennedy Center or whatever. So sometimes, right? I believe things go too far, all right? And Donald Trump and even some in his circle can take things too far. And honestly, as a populist, and he is, you know, you gotta feel the pulse of the people. And I think they just messed up on that. But when it comes to the Texas state Senate seat, I think that the left has people so outraged about what's happening in Minneapolis, and this is what they wanted. They're the optics that they wanted. You forget about the fraud that was taking place in Minneapolis. Guys, I'm telling you, we need to hone in on the fraud that Nick Shirley exposed. There are actually plenty of people exposed it before, but it never got highlighted like it did once Nick Shirley exposed it. And so to me, it isn't just about fraud in Minneapolis, though it is. It's about illegal immigrants, obviously, that are putting Minneapolis over the top, putting Democrats in Minnesota over the top when it comes to elections. But not only that, it is about the fraud in this sense. I don't think it's just fraud that is occurring in Minneapolis. I think, this is just my opinion, I have no evidence of this, but this is what I suspect, that money circulates in Democratic coffers and not just in Minnesota. You have to wonder, why the heck did Kamala Harris pick Tim Walz as her VP candidate? Is it true because he was just dumber than her? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe he could bring a lot of loot to the table. See, so with all these stories that are abound out there, Epstein, Minneapolis, what's happening in Iran right now, I believe that a lot of these local races are getting lost in the weeds. And frankly, that's the fault of the RNC. And I wish that President Trump, too, would say, guys, There's a race here that we need to win. Show up for a brother. Show up for me. And I realize it's a state Senate seat. It's not Congress. I get that. But still, you don't want the narrative. You don't want the optics. And I think obviously Republicans have to beware, but I don't know that they have to be aware of the policies. I think they just have to pay attention. Hey guys, this is why we need this race. All right, you don't like the optics here. We understand when it comes to the way that we're deporting some illegals. Listen, we got to continue to deport Biden illegals. We're going to prioritize the criminal illegals. We're going to get visa overstays, so on, etc. We're going to try to look for the gotaways. I had heard Mark Morgan on, I believe it's Mark Morgan, on the old CBP, head. I believe it was on Hannity's program earlier. Listen, we got to get the gotaways. We got to get these Biden illegals out of here. Those are the people that we're going to prioritize, the criminals first. And you just shoot straight with people. You know what I mean? And I think you can win some of these seats back. But obviously, conservatives should be cautious. Conservatives should be aware. All right, let me jump to this real quick. Gabe, how much time do we have in this segment? Okay, so let me jump to this. If you haven't seen the movie Melania, the documentary Melania, you should see it. It is fantastic. Guys, I'm not saying this because I'm a Trump supporter, although I am. I'm saying this because it was genuinely good, better than I thought it would be. All right, frankly, the way the cinematography on this film was done, so well done, and I think that Melania gets the credit that she deserves. Guys, not only has she been a supermodel, her attention to detail, to her family, to her role as the first lady, all of this stuff comes on the screen, pops out on the screen, comes to fruition. This is a lady that does not get her due. And she's fun, but she can also be serious. Again, she's obviously beautiful. When you see this film, you get to see Melania, the supermodel, and how that impacted her ability to be detail oriented, not just in the fashion industry, but actually with things that she does inside of the White House. I had no clue beyond her Be Best initiative and the other, I forget the other initiative. God forgive me. I mean, the lady is just a mother, the first lady, with her Be Best initiative. And she has a second initiative that escapes me right now, but I believe it has to do with foster children, organizing events in the White House that I had no clue about whatsoever, being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I think that women will be inspired by this. I think that you should check it out. Also, let me just say this real quickly to Luigi Mangione, and then I want to get to this detransitioning story. We had a major win. We had conservatives, and I think, frankly, I think people that suffer with gender dysphoria, they just had a major win that I want to talk about. But real quickly, let me talk about Luigi Mangione. Let me give you my take on Luigi Mangione. This idea that Luigi Mangione cannot be sentenced to death, in my opinion, the federal judge that said Luigi Mangione cannot be sentenced to death just made America less safe, made our justice system, in my opinion, a joke. I mean, this guy allegedly, we all saw the video, assassinated a dad. Oh, he was a CEO. He was this. He was. Be quiet. All of you guys out there that are sitting up there sucking up to Billie Eilish and Trevor Noah and all of these morons that were at the Grammys that are worth tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars more than the CEO of a healthcare company. You want to take out that guy? I mean, give me a break. It's such a joke. So we made with Luigi Mangione, America is less safe, in my opinion. America is less moral by not giving this guy the death penalty. It's just a more dangerous place. It's foolish. It's foolish. What you just said is, hey, if you go out and you assassinate somebody in cold blood, we're not going to throw the book at you. The reason why you have the death penalty, it isn't because people love death. It isn't that. It's because you deter other people from doing that again. It's as simple as that. And all of these ladies and these girls and even guys, some guy that tried to rescue, if you will, Luigi Mangione, break him out, I think a day before his last court appearance, just absolutely insane. You guys are sick. You guys are twisted. You need Jesus. You need some serious help. Because honestly, that guy should have gotten the death penalty. If anyone deserved the death penalty, Luigi Mangione did. We'll be back. All right, what else do we? Okay, the 5. Oh man, I should play this. I forgot to mention this. Hey, let's play number 7 coming back in. This is a really sad story. Yeah. Wait, confirming. Oh, wait a minute. CNN just sounded the alarms. Ooh, number 10. That's a good one. Um, I got 3. All right. Yeah. Yeah, before I get to the detransitioner story, I think this is important. Actually, I have the wrong paperwork. Crap. I thought I had a different. Oh, this is so crazy. I'm seeing things, literally seeing things. Oh, this stinks. Okay, that's fine. It is what it is. Okay. Man, I literally thought I had that. Uh-oh. Did I just do that? Okay. All right. Screw it. Let's do it. Jeez, that would have sucked. All right. Okay. All right. Welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Gabe, I want to go right to cut number 7. This is a really sad story that broke earlier. Authorities are saying that Savannah Guthrie's, I believe, of uh, Good Morning America, I believe is where she's. I mean, I just watched her. A great personality on. I watched the Thanksgiving Day Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, even though it was a little fruity tooty this past year. But she's always a great personality there. And I was sad to hear this news. So I'm praying for the best. Obviously, I'm sure we don't agree politically. That doesn't matter. She's a human being. This story is really sad if, in fact, this comes to fruition. But let's play cut number 7, please, Gabe.
As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we've processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime, and we're asking the community's help.
Okay, so that is the sheriff in Arizona. Forgive me, I forget what county. I just missed that. I forget what county, but he's an Arizona sheriff, and Savannah Guthrie's mother is missing. I believe she's 84 years old, if I recall correctly. I can't imagine. I mean, I cannot imagine. So prayers go out to Savannah Guthrie and other family members, and let's pray for the FBI are on the case now and law enforcement. Apparently, her mother lived in a more rural area, I think, of Arizona, from what I understand or what I heard earlier, close to the Mexican border. I don't know if that I don't know if that is related. Nobody knows anything yet. But at this point in time, just pray for her. I can't imagine, eh, especially someone that lives out their life to that age, and then something like this happens. It's just unthinkable. Anyway, Savannah Guthrie, I don't know you. I'm praying for you. All right, I am so sorry that you have to deal with this right now, guys. Let me give you some good news. I think this is a major win. This was originally posted in the Epoch Times or Epic Times or however you want to call it. But this is a huge victory for conservatives, and that is a jury awards a detransitioner $2 million in historic medical malpractice lawsuit. This particular article was from National Review, but like I said earlier, I originally found it in the Epoch Times. So I just want to make sure that I uh, give people their due, if you will. Um, I'm just looking at the news real quick. Excuse me there. All right, so here's the synopsis. So a woman who received a double mastectomy at the age of 16 under the guise of transgender related health care has just been awarded $2 million in the first successful medical malpractice lawsuit brought by a detransitioner. Now, guys, frankly, I don't think that $2 million is enough, but I do believe this is a good start. Again, this is a woman who received a double mastectomy at the age of 16. All right, so you have a young girl whose brain isn't fully developed, her body isn't fully developed, but at 16, you have a doctor and a shrink that says, you know what, cut some of your body parts off. This is going to make you much better under the guise of healthcare. I got to say this. I remember one time Barack Hussein Obama said that doctors were concerned about cutting off limbs and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, this guy, such a socialist, which he is. All right. With Obamacare, doctors aren't out there doing that. There's just this blatant attack on doctors. And I got to tell you guys, I've been so concerned where the medical field has been going when it comes to nurses, the medical field responded to COVID and the COVID lockdowns. These people knew with their training. I mean, I know that COVID-19 was new initially, but at some point in time, you guys have been trained. You knew better. So it really freaked me out that a lot of these doctors and nurses love the control. Administrators of some of these major healthcare organizations love the control, I believe. And that was pretty that illuminated my thinking. And I was like, I'll be doggone. That was one time that Barack Obama actually told the truth. All right, so Fox Varian is the name of the young woman who sued her New York-based psychologist and her plastic surgeon for facilitating her gender transition double mastectomy. This occurred in 2019, so 7 years ago at this point. Um, an independent reporter, Benjamin Ryan, who attended Varian's recent trial, said that a host of detransitioners have sued doctors who rushed to affirm, quote unquote, gender confusion with life altering surgeries. Varians is the first known successful lawsuit. Guys, I think this is going to have a major impact on this particular field. And quite frankly, let's be honest, you get a bunch of ambulance chasing lawyers that realize, oh my goodness, we can make money off of this now. Like they're a bunch of liberals. As a matter of fact, I saw a column earlier where one guy, I believe it was the attorney of Varian Fox, it was like, listen, when it comes to these personal injury attorneys, the vast majority, like over 90% are all liberal. He admitted, he's like, I'm a liberal myself. But when it comes to, what did he say? When his interest, but when it comes to suing the pants off of some of these people and making money, they will do it every single time. All right. They don't care if it's a fellow liberal. They don't care if it was an ideology they supported. They will sue them every single time. As a matter of fact, let me just read this. Wesley Smith. Okay. A number of people have commented that the dam is finally broken. We can only hope so. This is from Wesley Smith, whomever this is. The first gender detransitioner medical malpractice case to go to trial resulted in a $2 million verdict against the medical professionals who approved, again, a double mastectomy, for the plaintiff, Fox Varian. In 2019, she was only 16 years old. As I said, this verdict is an important development in the great cause of protecting gender confused minors from being subjected to irreversible procedures from which they can never be made whole. Why? The trial lawyers, this guy says, I know this community well. Hell, I was one. Most are liberal politically, but if they smell money in the water, they will sue the gender affirming quote unquote care industry into the ground, just as they do other business sectors with deep pockets. And this is exactly what's happening. So, next case to watch is Chloe Cole versus Kaiser Permanente. All right. So, I hope that Chloe Cole gets paid. These people have a moral obligation to do no harm. These doctors have a moral obligation, but here they are making bank. Guys, everybody knows that a man can't be a woman and that a woman can't be a man. Everybody knows that. And you get these people that are psychologists and psychiatrists that are willing to medicate these people, that are willing to counsel these people. Frankly, I think that these people should be criminally liable as well. But I'm so glad that this happens because it's going to give them pause. A lot of these liberals, see, they don't worship God; they worship themselves, and they worship government. And so this is the language that they understand. So I'm glad this young lady is suing them. Claire Deacon, Fox Varian, again, is a young lady that's suing her psychologist and her plastic surgeon that chopped off her breast at age 16. So Claire Deacon is Varian's mother, this according to National Review. She was led by her daughter's psychologist to believe that breast removal was the only way to heal Varian's gender dysphoria. She told the jury, at least. At first, Deacon, again, Fox Varian's mother, told Varian's psychologist, Kenneth Einhorn is his name, he should lose his license, that top surgery was never going to happen if she could help it. She said this man was just so empathetic and pushing that I felt like there was no good decision, she said. I think it was a scare tactic. I don't believe it was malice. I think he believed that he was saying, believed what he was saying, but he was very, very wrong. I don't believe that he knew what he was saying or believed what he was saying. I do believe these people want to make money, and I do believe the psychologists want to feel moral. The idea of her 16-year-old daughter receiving a mastectomy made her, quote, physically ill. But Deacon, again, was led to believe by Einhorn, the psychologist, the psychologist, that this is what had to happen if she wanted to save her daughter's life. And that's what it is. It's an all or nothing scenario. If they don't chop off their body parts, they're going to commit suicide. Meanwhile, guys, it takes just a 5 minutes of research to look at the suicide rates. Guys, if anything, and I had this study, I don't know where I put it, but the suicide rates when it comes to transgenders, actually it grows because there's still it's a mental disorder. Gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. So even after having these surgeries, these people still, in a short period of time, a good majority of them want to still commit suicide. I mean, we are sentencing these people to death. Listen, if you believe in individuality, if you love humans, you believe in people, let people be who God created them to be. You can't make a man a woman. You can't make a woman a man. And honestly, this is a huge, huge win from all of the gender dysphoria patients that have been abused by the system. Okay, so that's one. I got to think of a name for that one. And then we'll do this last one. Okay, 7 tipsy. All right. Sure. You have lived the most affluent lifestyle that could possibly be lived in the U.S. Seem to complain. It's so true. It's so annoying, man. They're a bunch of ingrates. I mean, they they achieve the American dream, but they're surrounded by a bunch of useful idiots too. And I just don't think, they just exist in a bubble, and they sit there, they bash the United States of America, live the American dream, get rich by living the American dream. It's just so, it's so typical. It's just, I heard Paul Morrell saying this, so predictable. It's nothing new with the Hollywood crowd, but it's frustrating because they have such influence, and they're so dumb when it comes to politics. But sadly, they have such influence, and so many people follow them. They have lemmings that'll believe the same moronic stuff. So it becomes a threat to society, threat to our civilization. Sadly, that's what it's become. Happy Monday night. Hope all is great and super by you. That is so sad about Savannah's Monday. Oh man, it is. No, we'll be all right. We went and saw Melania today, and I missed the last part. And what a grand show it wasn't. It was such. Thank you, Wild Wilson. It was so much better than I expected. I'm not trying to be. I'm just being real. It was so well done. It was amazing. I mean, and I always respected Melania. I never felt like she got her due. And so I was glad that Amazon, I know people are as upset on the left. Of course they will be. But I was glad that Amazon stepped up to the plate in this, because that thing was so well done. I would see it again. That was so good. I would actually see that again. So anyway, I think we're extremely blessed to have her, as the first lady of the United States, in my opinion. Let me take a quick swig, and then we can go. All right, let's do this. You can stop slacking. All right, the left's war for open borders. That's what I want to talk about right now, guys. Again, what we're witnessing in Minneapolis, what we're witnessing from the left. I know people are talking about the shutdown, the partial shutdown. Frankly, I don't even care right now. The only I except for this sense, I am tired of Republicans caving. I'm not even a fan of the Department of Homeland Security. I've been wanting the Trump administration to shut down the Department of Homeland Security. I think that it is too big. I think that it's too bloated. They conceived it after 9/11. Perhaps at that period of time it was useful, but I wish that they would marry in ICE and Customs and Border Patrol into a different branch, bureaucracy, maybe part of the FBI or something like that, maybe part of the DOJ, or just be their own bureaucracy or whatever. But I'm not a big fan of the Department of Homeland Security, but I don't want the left to win. I'm tired of. I'm just tired of Republicans caving. But let me tell you why the fight for the borders, and we've talked about this before. This is no secret. This is all about power. This is all about elections. Guys, just as a reminder, I think I've said this a couple of times, mentioned this a couple of times in podcasts, but I'm going to mention it again because sometimes you have to be repetitive, because I want you guys to be able to go out there and make the arguments as well. Here's the bottom line. This is about power. The Democrats need open borders. I mean, just imagine, what do Democrats run on? Lawlessness? Oh yeah, Luigi Mangione can go out and assassinate people. Renee Good can go run over an ICE agent, and we're going to go praise them. So what do they have to run on? Lawlessness? Oh, abortion? Abortion. Oh, we want to, we want to go out and we want women to abort as many other babies, kill as many other babies as possible. Listen to this headline real quick. Abortion numbers skyrocket in the UK. Close to 1 in 3 pregnancies in Britain now ends in termination. Okay, so even if you're not a pro-lifer like I am, these people are screwed. These people are screwed because they're bringing in all of these Muslims from different countries coming into their country, and those people are doing their thing like jackrabbits, if you will. And you have ladies that are just having abortions willy-nilly, and many people that aren't even having babies anymore. Women, all these feminists that don't even want to have babies. So I mean, these are crazy times. So it's all about power. The reason why the left wants illegal immigration, the reason why they're fighting so hard in Minneapolis, there's two fights going on. Tim Walz, the moron, the moronic governor, Mayor Fry, the moronic mayor, A.G. Ellison, the moronic AG. They're fighting because I believe they're corrupt, and they're going to be caught up. They're going to be found out when it comes to all of this Somali fraud. Again, AG Keith Ellison is on tape, basically a quid pro quo. Hey, I'll let you off of this if you kick a little money back to my campaign. He's on audio tape. You don't think that Tim Walz and Fry didn't know about that? If nothing else, they were complicit. They turned a blind eye, but they knew about it. So that's one story, right? So they're fighting for their freedom. When it comes to the leadership in Minneapolis, they were fighting for illegal immigration. They were fighting for power. But right now, those three, in my opinion, are fighting for their freedom. But what is the Democrat Party fighting for? Immigrants. Immigrants didn't build America. American citizens built America. But they need illegal immigrants because they're losing voters. Remember, I told you guys, remember back in the day when Barack Hussein Obama just abandoned the white working class voter. Democrats had them. Obama said, they go. We're going to go for Latinos. Latinos are a growing population. That's who we're going to go for. But and then Obama started supporting gay marriage and so on, et cetera. He started going too far to the left, started sounding more and more like a socialist, single payer healthcare system. That's what he wanted Obamacare to become, socialized medicine. And a bunch of Latinos that had fled their nations to live in the United States said, wait a minute, we don't like this. And they were too religious. And so instead of the Democrats co-opting the Latino vote, they started losing the Latino vote little by little. And so it just didn't work out for them. So now what do? Oh, man. Open up the borders. Listen, we need House seats. A census is coming. You've got people leaving blue states like California, like New York, like Illinois, coming to red states like Florida, like Texas, like the Carolinas, like Idaho, moving to states like that. And so now those states are going to have a larger proportion, right, of population, more heads to count, so to speak. And so they're going to get more representation in the House of Representatives. Democrats can't have that. So what do? Bring in a bunch of illegals because with the census, all they count are heads. It doesn't matter if they're citizens. All they count are heads, which is insane to me. But nonetheless, that's the only reason that the state of California has so many seats in the House of Representatives. And you get federal funding. Okay, you've got this amount of people in your population. You're going to need this amount of federal funding for this, for, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, so on, et cetera. And so sadly, a lot of people, American citizens, that need help from Medicare, Medicaid, so on, et cetera, they're getting a shaft. Perhaps they're not getting as much as they should be getting because now they have to split resources with illegals that shouldn't be in the country in the first place. They're bringing in illegals to be dependent. It's a new type of slave trade. That's really what it is. It's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. I want to play a couple of clips. Let's go to clip number 2. Let's go to clip number 2. This is David Kite. We've had him on our program before, but all these organizers that are raising up in Minneapolis and all this kind of stuff. This is what they're really up to. This is all paid agitation. That doesn't mean that neighbors or people in Minneapolis or these different areas, they see the protest or riots and insurrectionists, and they may come out to be a part of it. But The people that are riling them up are paid agitators. Let's go to cut number 2, please, Gabe.
If you've ever wondered how protests happen on the spot, this is exactly how. Without organizers, without the music, without the bullhorns, without all of these people coming together. And right now what they're doing is they're loading their trucks to leave out of here after they finish with the protest. None of the protests that you see that happen immediately after something happens, which is all the time now, wouldn't be possible. What's behind me is a combination of Party for Socialism and Liberation. We have Democrat Socialists of America here as well, and a couple very loose communist organizations like Revolutionary Communists for America. None of the protests that you see are organic. They're well organized, and because they're well organized, that means they're well funded through various campaigns, whether it's foreign influence campaigns or it could be even Democrat campaigns. So this is how it all happened.
So you see, it's not about Renee Good. It isn't about Alex Preddy. What Democrats have to do is make a bunch of noise. They have to call off the dogs. And when I speak of the dogs, I mean they have to call off ICE. They have to call off Customs and Border Patrol. They have to get Trump to back down, because if they lose votes from illegals, they lose their power. Or at least if they lose illegals, if illegals are forced to leave the country and are no longer in their cities, are no longer in their states, in their counties, they're not going to get the representation that they want in Congress. And that's what this is about for them. They don't give a flip about Renee Good. They don't give a... Now, the lemmings in Hollywood, they probably do, but they do more so just because they want to feel good about themselves. But ultimately, none of these people give a flip about Renee Good. None of them give a flip about Alex Preddy. And listen, again, I'm sorry that these people lost their lives, but they lost their lives for nothing. They did some really stupid stuff by interfering in law enforcement operations. It's something that they should have never done. Anybody with a modicum of common sense, you grew up, your parents told you, listen, you get pulled over by the cops, you just listen, you obey, you have a yes sir, no sir, you live to fight another day. That's what you do. Get your butt home. I mean, this is just insane. I gotta bring you to the story about what's happening in Seattle, because you need to understand how bad this is. And also, I want to talk about the Save America Act, which is the antidote to the open borders crowd, which is the antidote to Democrats wanting this perpetual, this new slave trade, if you will, of illegals coming into the country. Because it isn't about empowering immigrants, all right, guys? It's about enslaving immigrants. Gabe, I just thought about that on the fly. You should pat me on the back. There's some way you can reach to the screen. All right, but it's about enslaving. It's about enslaving illegal immigrants. All right, so we got to talk about this. The Save America Act, and also what's happening in Seattle. This is what the left is trying to do all across the country. And guys, we got to put a stop to this. Sanctuary cities must be banned. Why this hasn't happened yet drives me nuts. It makes me want to pull out my hair. If I had some, it would make me want to pull out my hair. So anyway, we'll be back with more. The left's war for open borders. This one, Gabe started a separate podcast. Okay. All right. Because I didn't remember where I stopped with the other one. All right. Perfect. I need a swig. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Why is that not opening up? Open file. Did I do that? Surely. Okay. Just Okay, let's come back in with cut number 10. This is a very important cut. Very important cut. I think this is Harry Hinton. I hope this is. Yeah, come right back in with it, please. Let me take a swig. I'm ready.
Trends that really should set off a flashing red siren to Democrats nationwide while bringing a big smile to the faces of Republicans nationwide. Why do I say that? Because take a look at the big population gainers versus the last census back in 2020. According to the latest population estimates that take into account the population mid-2025, look at this. The biggest population growth this decade, all 5 of the states that Donald John Trump won in 2024. Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, and of course the great state of Arizona, where I spent my New Year's Eve. I love those folks out in Prescott, Arizona. These were the biggest gainers in terms of population compared to the 2020 census. Now, it's not just a red state boom. This is what we're looking at. We're looking at a red state boom here, but it is not just a red state boom. We're also looking at what I would dare call a blue state depression, because who are the people? Who and where are the people moving from into the red states? Well, they're blue states. They're blue states. Take a look here. The lowest domestic net migration this decade. All 5 of the states that were won by Kamala Harris in 2024. Look at this. California, Harris's home state. New York, where I'm coming from right now, of course. Illinois, New Jersey, and of course the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is a bastion of blue liberalism. These are the states that folks in the United States are moving away from and into the red states, which is propelling a red state boom. Now, this is interesting, right? But it could also have major political ramifications if it holds for 2030, the next census. Because take a look here. If, in fact, the 2025 population shifts hold for the 2030 census, look at this. Look at the House seat shifts by state. Remember, of course, we apportion the number of House seats depending on the population in each state. If, in fact, the 2025 population shifts hold for 2030, states that Kamala Harris won, they would lose 7 seats in the United States House of Representatives. The states that Donald Trump won in 2024, they would gain 7 seats. Now, this isn't just about the House of Representatives, right? It's also about the Electoral College, because the number of electoral votes that each state gets is equal to the number of senators. Each state, of course, has 2, plus the number of House seats that they have. So what would this mean for the House of Representatives? Well, if you remember back in 2024, right, it was all about, we were talking about the blue wall. If Kamala Harris could win the baseline Democratic states and then add in the blue wall states of Michigan, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, she would get to 270 electoral votes. But if all of a sudden we, in fact, have applying the 2025 estimates, the population estimates, to the Electoral College, the blue states plus the blue wall of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin would no longer be enough. Under the current estimates, you get to exactly 270 electoral votes, the minimum needed to win the Electoral College. If, in fact, you apply the 2025 estimates, look at that. You would only get to 263 electoral votes if you were a Democrat, which would mean a Republican victory. Now, of course, we're still a number of years away from reapportionment, right? We take the census.
Guys, listen, and thank you for being patient and watching that video, but I think it's important. That's what it's about. It's about power. This is what the left understands. No, again, no one's buying into. What are their ideas? What are their ideas? Ignore the rule of law, where you get a bunch of Renee Goods and, you know, Alex Preddies that don't respect law enforcement. Luigi Mangione can assassinate a person on the street, and he's just adored by fans. You get people that love abortion, people that want to censor conservatives like they did during the COVID lockdowns, a bunch of people that just want to redistribute the wealth, like you see in Ma'am Danny, who's not as caring. People are starting to find out pretty quickly this guy isn't as bright and as caring as he's portrayed to be. Basically, his policy for the homeless people during the some of the coldest winters that at least we've seen in the Southeast. They see cold winters all the time, but for the homeless people, let them stay out in the cold. And so they had 13 people that died in New York City because Ma'am Danny's policies were, let's be compassionate, let's leave them out in the snow to freeze to death. I mean, these people are an absolute and utter disaster. They're not compassionate people. They just talk the game, and they smile like Ma'am Danny all the time, smiling like a puppy. But they don't care about immigration. If they cared about immigration, they would want more legal immigrants. Guys, listen, we bring in legally, we bring in nearly 1 million immigrants every year, somewhere between seven. I think I heard the numbers today, an average of 750,000 legal immigrants every year into the United States over the last 20 years. Sometimes it's over a million, sometimes it's under a million. The average 750,000 over the last 20 years. But Harry Enton just gave away the game. I hate giving CNN. I like him, but I hate giving CNN, that much attention. But that's what you need to understand. That's why this is important. Let's do this real quick. Let's show you cut number one. This is Nick Shirley. I want to make sure that I show this now. Mick Shirley has just arrived in California. Let's see the reaction that he gets. Cut number one real quick, if we could play that, Gabe.
It's Nick Shirley, our state, guys. Look.
They know him. They know him.
You don't care. This is my daycare.
Then where are the children?
You don't care.
Where are the children at?
It's not enough, Minnesota. You come here. It's not enough.
They're on alert. So he comes to California now. Nick Shirley shows up in California. And listen, that may have been on a Saturday, so I'm not sure why they would have anybody on a Saturday, but maybe they would, or perhaps it was on a Friday. But nonetheless, they're scared, and they know him. They already know him. I'm telling you, the Democrats are running scared. Now, listen to this. Congressman Chip Roy of Texas and Senator Mike Lee introduced the Save America Act. All right, this is extremely important. So this is a new improved version of their SAVE Act. So the Save America Act adds a voter ID requirement for voting in federal elections while maintaining the original bill's proof of citizenship requirement for voter registration. Why is this important? Elections. I mean, this is all about elections, guys. All of this stuff that you see in Minneapolis, except again for Ellison and Tim Walz and Fry, Mayor Fry, all being scared about corruption now at this point. But they need illegals to win. You heard Harry Enton. They're not going to have the electoral votes because you have too many people leaving Democrat-run states that are run so crappy and coming to red states. Again, all the states that he named: Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Tennessee is getting a lot of people that are moving away from blue states. They're running away from these blue states. They're coming to these red states. So that means that the blue states lose representation. They lose money. They lose electoral votes. What do Democrats have to do to make sure that they maintain their power? Open the borders. Open the borders. Guys, that's what they're fighting for. The Save America Act. Here's what it would do. It will protect and preserve the right of American citizens to vote by requiring individuals to present an eligible photo identification document before voting. Guys, you need ID to buy liquor, to buy cigarettes, all this kind of stuff. You should have ID to vote. Come on. Requiring states to obtain proof of citizenship in person when registering an individual to vote. So that way you eliminate cheating. You got to show proof of citizenship. You got to be there in person. You can't have your homie going in. You're an illegal, but you want to make sure you vote Democrat so you get to stay in the country. And now what they've added to this Save America Act is it requires states to remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls. Why would non-citizens be on voting rolls? Guys, and listen, this is just on the federal level, but on the state and local levels, illegals should not be allowed to vote in elections. This is common sense, guys. They're going to vote their interests. You vote your interests, but you got to pay. They're going to vote their interest. And sadly, too many illegals that have come to this country, particularly under the Biden era, have come here and they're getting all types of handouts. And that's just wrong. That's just wrong. I don't mind helping people out. I'd love to be wealthy where I can help out as many people as I'd like to be. I like being generous with money when I can afford it. But when people come here illegally, you bust your butt, you work hard, you think you're working hard for your family, you're working for a bunch of people that are a bunch of crumb snatchers just taken from the system. And Democrats are intentionally putting as many illegals on the welfare and getting them to vote just so that they can stay in power. This is just wrong. The Democrat Party doesn't care about people. I'm not saying that Republicans are, angels, but it's certainly a much better political party than the Democrat Party is. Better ideas. Right now, the Democrat mantra is just hate Trump. And that's been working for them. But anyway, it's a sad state of affairs. I got to get to this story. We'll close it out after one more segment here. I got to talk to you about what's happening in Seattle, because this is going to be happening nationwide. You should understand what's going on. This Seattle mayor, Katie Wilson, she's the Ma'am Danny of Seattle, just basically tried to mandate doxing ICE agents using the police department. We'll be back. Okay. Okay. Let's do this like Brutus, as they say in Spain. Yes. Okay. You know what? Let me make mention of this real quick before I get to this Seattle story, because it's just so important. Guys, really pray for the people of Iran, the people that are these are the people that are really oppressed. You literally have the Billie Eilishes of the world talking about the people that are oppressed inside of the United States. I mean, it's just utter nonsense from all of these Hollywood people. But in Toronto, of all places, you had thousands that were marching on the street all around Sankofa Square. I don't even know what that is, and beyond. Tens of thousands showed up to march in support of Iran's continued protests against the Islamic regime. If the left cares about tyrants, or they hate tyrants, they hate authoritarians, they could really, really pay attention and speak out. Billie Eilish could use her influence to speak out about the tens of thousands of protesters that have been slaughtered in Iran. Tens of thousands, not two. And they weren't slaughtered. I'm sorry. Alex Preddy, and I'm not saying they had it coming to them. Renee Good, they did a very stupid thing by being confrontational with law enforcement officers, and that's never going to end good. These people just want to eat. They just want to be able to drink water. And where's Hollywood? They're nowhere to be found. Where's Billie Eilish on this? Where's Trevor Noah on this? Who's the other useful idiot that we talked about? All of these Hollywood morons, where are they on this? Real oppression. You got people in Toronto, of all places, that are out there showing support in below freezing temperatures. It didn't deter anyone, according to this, with the Iranians' current and most severe uprising, and all unanimously in support of one thing, and that is revolution. You have people out there waving pre-1979 flags before the Ayatollah took over, and chants for regime change by replacing the Islamic Republic with Reza Pahlavi as the Shah. The call to action was impossible to ignore. Some demonstrators even more boldly expressed their demands by burning photographs of the Ayatollah Khomeini in the streets. So we'll see what happened. Absolutely massive crowd of Iranians calling for the return of the Shah and outside help for the 85 million hostages that are in it. They consider themselves hostages in their homeland. No Alu Akbar, no globalize the Intifada is what they have been yelling in London, actually. Instead, you can hear Iran, yes, Islam, no. Anywhere from any breaking stories on Billie Eilish talking about these people? It drives me nuts. Okay, I told you I would get to what's happening in Seattle. Guys, pray for the safety of our ICE agents. They are patriots. They are being put in positions that they shouldn't be put into. And frankly, I don't know why this isn't a crime. Obviously, there's a supremacy clause. These sanctuary cities need to be shut down. I am so frustrated. You had Lindsey Graham out there talking about a bill last week to shut down sanctuary cities, make them comply with the law. I don't understand how they can't in the first place. I mean, I don't want Trump warning them, scaring them. I want these cities, these sanctuary cities, I want them bankrupt. So here's the latest. This was in Am Greatness. Seattle's communist mayor, Katie Wilson, has announced, and she is a communist. She's like Ma'am Danny. He calls himself a democratic socialist. I believe she calls herself a communist. If not, she calls herself a democratic socialist too. I think I've heard her say both things. But she has announced plans to mobilize the city's police force to gather intelligence on ICE agents. Did you hear that? She wants to turn the police force against another law enforcement agency that are conducting immigration enforcement operations. She wants to be able to share that information with the community partners, quote unquote, that are on the streets. So remember the video that Cam Higbee had of all of these people. Many of them were elected officials, leadership inside of Minneapolis, and then they were all colluding with these rioters, with these agitators, these anti-ICE agitators, these anti-ICE obstructionists. They were all on using an app to be able to communicate where, we saw an ICE agent here, go disrupt this, go park your car here, go block them, go do this, this is what she wants to be able to do. She wants the police force to be able to do this. This chick is insane. By the way, just like Ma'am Danny, she's a spoiled brat. She grew up with money, living with mommy and daddy, at least at one point. Wilson said, again, this is the mayor, said she will bar federal immigration officers from utilizing city-controlled property. Bar federal immigration. Yank that money, Trump. Why are we playing around? Including parks, parking lots, plazas, vacant lots, garages, and the Seattle Center for Civil Immigration Enforcement. She asked even school districts, listen to this, and the courts, the municipal court, the Seattle Municipal Court, to adopt the same tactics, similar restrictions. So the mayor, the communist mayor, is trying to collude with the school district and the Seattle Municipal Court to be able to dox ICE agents. Why would she even ask that if she didn't know that there were a bunch of people in that school district or sitting on the court that would be more than happy to help out? This is insanity, and it's got to stop. Guys, I again, at this point, it's not going to happen. I wanted the Insurrection Act in Minneapolis to get things calm. I think Tom Homan is going to do that over time, but we need to keep deporting. It doesn't need to look as bad. Listen, I hate this. I hate this. But there is a narrative, right? I knew that this would happen. I told you guys that this would happen. Deporting people never looks good. Law enforcement operations never looks good. And you were going to hear violins in the background. And sadly, some people are falling for it, perhaps even some in my audience. And I get it. I get it. But 600,000 nearly deportations from the Trump administration, many criminals, mostly criminals. That's not including the people that have voluntarily left. 170 American citizens out of that nearly 600,000 that have been arrested, but 130 of them were agitators like Renee Good. I hate to say that. I feel bad that she fell for that nonsense, but that's the truth. Here's what Katie Wilson said: whoever you are and wherever you come from, if Seattle is your home, then this is your city. She wants you to go out there and agitate. Specifically, the mayor directed the Seattle Police Department to, quote, investigate, verify, and document reports of immigration enforcement activity. Again, think about this. Turning local law enforcement against other federal law enforcement. Under, under the mayor's plan. Again, this is AM greatness. Under the mayor's plan, if a federal immigration enforcement operation is underway in the city, officers will be sent to the location to document the activity with in-car and body-worn video. Wait a minute. I thought they didn't want officers, local officers, wasting their time dealing with ICE agents. But apparently to antagonize and dox ICE agents, then it's okay. This is insane. This is criminal. Verify the identification of apparent federal agents. She wants them to do. Verify the identification of apparent federal agents. Wow. Secure scenes of potentially unlawful acts to gather evidence for prosecutors as well. Secure scenes of potentially unlawful acts to gather evidence for prosecutors, as if state and local prosecutors can prosecute federal officials. Additionally, the city will mandate, quote, closer cooperation between departments and community anti-ICE organizations. These are the paid protests, the paid rioters, the paid obstructionists, sharing information through a hotline operated by a community-led partner to connect residents with resources and support. So basically, what Cam Higbee exposed. Wilson also announced the launch of the Stand Together Seattle initiative, inviting private property owners to post notices stating that federal agents may not access their property without a warrant. You know what will happen to those private property owners if they don't do that? You don't think they'll be intimidated? This lady is sick. City employees will receive training on how to report and respond to federal law enforcement activity. Katie Wilson also said the city will allocate $4 million that was previously appropriated by the city council for left-wing organizations providing legal defense to illegal aliens and community support. So she'll just use that money to dox people. The woke Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes said officers will continue to focus on public safety regardless of immigration status and comply with laws barring participation in immigration enforcement. This dumb said he would do it. This guy shouldn't be a police officer. There's an entire 5-step plan I don't have time to get into, but basically that was the gist of it. But the Seattle Police Officers Guild released a statement on social media saying that this was ludicrous. The executive order for pitting two armed law enforcement agencies against each other. He says this toothless virtue signaling rhetoric like this has already cost 2 people their lives. The concept of pitting two armed law enforcement agencies against each other is ludicrous. So thank God there's some sanity in Seattle. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. It's been a blast. We started a little later tonight. I had some family issues here, but I'm glad you were out there in the listening audience. These podcasts will be going up. There will be, even though we did one show, there will be 3 separate podcasts that will be cut up for your enjoyment. Please like, share, and ask your friends to subscribe to the Carl Jackson Show. And if you haven't followed us already, please follow us on all of our other platforms. We're on X, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Rumble at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show. We would really appreciate your help in building our numbers and getting our voice out there. Until next time, guys, don't grow weary doing good, and God bless you.